Hulk Rebirth 1. The sun beat down on his back, not burning his skin, but that didn't make the experience any more bearable. Under the cursed New Mexico sun, he felt the heat pressing down on him. Unfortunately, for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, there was no breeze to cool him down. While the wind wouldn't do much to alleviate the intense heat, it would at least bring some relief, making it easier to bear. He had been wandering for days without seeing a soul. Up ahead, however, buildings came into view. It was a ghost town, completely deserted. Not a sign of humans, not even a cat in sight. The only thing he could hear was the occasional rustle of a rat hiding somewhere, echoing as he walked past the shops and houses. Inside, the goods and clothing were still in place, as if frozen in time. An eerie feeling crept over him as all signs pointed to the people here having disappeared without warning. There was no sign of anyone leaving, nor any evidence that anyone had ever entered. He picked out some new clothes, which he desperately needed after his long journey. The soles of his old shoes had worn out some 200 miles ago, leaving his feet badly damaged, aching and healing over time. Now, at least he had a new pair of shoes with soft gel insoles, providing a more comfortable feeling after his tiring steps. As he continued walking through the deserted town, his eyes swept over the empty buildings, the empty streets. The sight of the scene reminded him of that fateful day, more than 20 years ago, when everything changed forever. A feeling of both nostalgia and emptiness surged through him, causing him to slow down and admire the remnants of a bygone era. New Mexico. Betty, are you ready for the test? Yes, everything is ready. General Ross is waiting in the observation room, Betty replied quickly, trying to keep up with Bruce's hurried pace. Taking a few quick steps, she moved forward to block his path, preventing him from entering the double doors. Bruce, good luck, she said, her voice soft but full of concern. Before he could react, she gave him a brief, unexpected hug, as if to give him strength, then stepped back and stepped aside, allowing him to continue on what they both knew was a challenging path ahead. Bruce blushed slightly and returned Betty's hug, the warmth fleeting for a moment. Thanks, Betty. I've checked the calculations a dozen times. Everything is under control. Don't worry too much, he said, as if to reassure her, but also to reassure himself. Pushing open the double doors in front of him, Bruce stepped into the sterile hallway, the cold fluorescent lighting filling the space. The doors on both sides, left and right, were closed as if hiding their own secrets. Behind him, Betty's heels clicked on the tiled floor, the sound echoing in the empty space, creating a feeling of both loneliness and urgency. When he reached the end of the hallway, Bruce slowly opened the door on the right, which led to the bomb observation room, where the most important things awaited him. Welcome to the program, Dr. Banner. Perhaps you are ready to conduct this test today, or would you like to wait until a more convenient time for yourself? General Ross's tone was heavy with impatience, which he made no effort to hide, even though Bruce had arrived on time for the test. Realizing the irony in his words, Bruce chose to ignore the provocation and focused on starting the testing process professionally and calmly. Good morning, everyone, Bruce said, nodding slightly to General Ross first, then the team standing beside him. Without wasting any more time, he quickly moved forward, readying himself for the demonstration. Now, I will begin the test, he announced firmly. Bruce began working on the control panel, pressing a series of buttons, entering complex codes, turning knobs with absolute precision. Finally, he opened a small glass case in front of him and announced, his voice steady but heavy, gentlemen, the bomb has been activated. I am initiating the countdown. Bruce pressed the button, and the number 60 seconds immediately appeared on the screen above the observation window, counting down the seconds in a steady rhythm. However, the silence was broken by the sudden, shrill sound of an alarm. An accident had occurred, something had breached the safety boundary. 45 seconds left. From the surveillance cameras, they detected a vehicle entering the blast zone. It seemed the driver had ignored the barricades and strict warning signs that this was a nuclear bomb testing area. This was no mistake, they clearly knew exactly what they were doing. But Bruce had no intention of letting this incident ruin the entire test. The team had spent months waiting for the best weather conditions, ensuring that everything was as safe as possible. He couldn't let one inconsiderate person ruin the team's efforts. 30 seconds left. Bruce focused, determined to continue the test despite the obstacles. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon and turn on notifications to see the earliest videos. Thank you. Bruce slammed his fist down on the emergency stop button, the metallic sound drowning out the alarm and the chaotic screams from the people around him. The countdown immediately stopped. He took a deep breath, his eyes sharp. I'll be right back, and we'll put him in jail. Without hesitation, Bruce took the lead, followed by General Ross, the 4 members of the team, and Betty. As they moved towards the Jeep, General Ross spoke, his voice deep and authoritative. Dr. Banner, you have no authority to arrest anyone. That's the responsibility of the senators, but I'll hold him until they get here. Now, get in the Jeep and deal with this intruder once and for all. Everyone quickly followed the instructions, preparing to face the unexpected threat that had interrupted the test. In a matter of minutes and miles, the group was speeding down the rough dirt road, heading toward where the dust cloud the intruder's car had left off. Their destination was just outside Gamma Town, a small city built specifically to test the explosive power of the bomb. The town loomed in the distance, less than a mile west of their position. Bruce, his eyes sharp and determined, banged on the tinted windows of the car to get their attention, while General Ross calmly but urgently reported their location to the senators over the radio. The atmosphere was tense. Samuel Stearns was not an easy learner. He had struggled all his life to understand concepts that most people, even children, found simple. Still, he didn't consider himself stupid. He didn't think so. At least he didn't think so. He just learned more slowly than others. Samuel's brother, on the other hand, was a genius who had studied with great scientists and often spoke of his brother's achievements, things that Sam felt he could never match. In fact, Sam often had difficulty remembering people's names, especially those he had never met. He tilted his head, feeling his voice become a little clearer. It was strange. There was no obvious reason for this to happen, but it was obvious that it had. Probably the intercom, he thought to himself. He listened closely and realized that he had just been assigned a new task. This was not something that was unusual. It happened from time to time. His normal work would be interrupted when his superiors called and asked him to stop and do another task. The only thing that was different this time was that his voice did not sound like his boss's. However, he did not care much because he knew that everyone spoke differently. With his janitor uniform and cleaning cart, he could go almost anywhere in the building without being noticed. Most people treated him as invisible or simply like a family pet. Like a cat, you could say anything around him that he would not understand. He heard criticism of his ignorance. Not a few people couldn't believe he had gotten a job here. In fact, many people thought he only got the job because of his brother's position in the base. But that wasn't true. He had to go through an interview with a woman, and she had no connection to his brother. Once again, the announcement came over the intercom, asking him to move to the end of the corridor and press a button to complete the performance. This was the first time he had been given such an important task. He told himself that he wouldn't let them down. His brother would definitely be proud of him. Maybe he would even get promoted, he thought. The idea sounded appealing, although he had no idea what a promoted janitor would be able to do next. The door to the observation room opened, revealing an empty space. The man walked towards the glowing red button, tilting his head to hear the voice from the intercom more clearly. After listening for a while, he nodded and decided to press the button. Bruce pulled the teenager out of the car. Jim Wilson, 18 years old, had just been kicked out of his home and was now living alone. Jim opened his mouth, intending to curse, but was cut off by General Ross's authoritative voice. The wind roared past Bruce's ears, making him feel numb. The sand on the wind tore at his skin, causing him pain. The sky above was moving, with dark blue clouds covering it, while the ground beneath his feet was a burnt orange. Around him, Betty, General Ross, and the 4 men who had been with him earlier were all caught in the sandstorm, which was still to be continued. What do you think about this battle? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all very much.